So as far as the weather's concerned, that gives most places a pretty cloudy night, obviously, and there'll be some outbreaks of chiefly light rain and sleet around. Bit of snow here and there as well. Most of the snow, I think you'll find, will be over the hilly parts in England and Wales. Actually, in the more western areas, you'll probably find that you'll get away with a generally dry night, and it's here that you could get one or two breaks in the cloud, perhaps leading to just a touch of frost and one or two brief slippery patches on the roads. Another area of rain moving into that more north-western part of Scotland. And then tomorrow, well, really, another day just like today, so it will be quite cold again, a raw northeasterly wind, especially in this southeastern corner of the country. A good deal of cloud around too, and many places having some outbreaks of chiefly light rain or drizzle, but in that southeastern corner especially you could have some heavier bursts coming along from time to time. On the other hand, in these more western areas you may well get away with a fairly dry day, and if you're really lucky you could get a little brightness from time to time as well, and that's not only western parts of England and Wales, but Northern Ireland and central areas of Scotland too. But the north of Scotland, there another cloudy patch with some further chiefly light rain and drizzle, and as I said earlier, a fairly cold day. That's it. Good night to you.
In tomorrow night's Panorama, a report from David Lomax.
Hello, love. It's electricity board, love. Well, we've arrived, unfortunately, love, to disconnect your supply.
Every year, more than 80,000 families have their electricity cut off because they haven't paid their bills. The government has now announced a 2% price rise. The industry doesn't want it, and this week a parliamentary report will say that it's really a tax.
It would appear that the Treasury found that it needed extra revenue, and that's been made quite clear by the Chancellor, and the electricity industry appear to be a nice target.
It's the lower income brackets that suffer. It's not the people that could afford to pay increased taxes.
Panorama looks at fuel policy and those caught in the trap of fuel poverty.
Damn cold. I've no lights, I've nothing.
That's the electric shock. Panorama, tomorrow night at 8:10.
Now we continue our Sunday evening on BBC1 in the hands of the team of people who each week set out to prove that's life.
You show yours and I'll show mine.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. First, of course, we must thank you for all the letters you've sent us again this week. And you've sent us some presents, too. After I revealed the secrets of my underwear last week, Mrs. Jaquez sent me a pair of tights she was given last Christmas. She says they don't quite fit her. She thinks they might do for me. I think I'll send them to my friend Angela Rippon, because she does a lot of riding. And you've also sent us some most intriguing pictures.
Mrs. Vincent's from Chard in Somerset was a bit alarmed to see in her local paper that Crewkerne Town Councillor Tony Dowse-Brennan demonstrates the danger to pedestrians at the corner of North Street and Market Square.
Peter Jones from Sittingbourne in Kent took a picture of his friend Tony that makes us suspect he may use Ultra Bright. Ting!
And Christine Micklewright photographed a gentleman in the Shrewsbury raft race, modelling his own new style of swimming trunks, fully air-conditioned.
And Mrs. Pauline Johnson was on holiday with her husband last year in Spain, and a friend took a picture of them there. Trouble is, she can't remember now if this is her or her husband.
But Mrs. Hudsmith has no doubt at all. She lives in Rugby, and her next-door neighbour took a picture in the garden last summer, which is definitely her husband.
Speaking of sprays, this week's consumer survey was suggested by Mr. Harry Bonato, who lives in St John's Wood in London. He said,
The other day I was groping for my aftershave and I splashed on my wife's perfume by mistake. I was appalled when I realised what I'd done, but my wife said I smelt rather nice. How about seeing what other men think about wearing women's perfume?
well, it sounded a good idea. So we went out with two anonymous-looking sprays. One actually contains a very expensive gentleman's spray aftershave by Chanel, £12.50 for this much. The other is a rather cheap lady's perfume, £4.50 for that, called Eau de Lancôme. And we went to Bristol to find out which the men there prefer. I should warn anyone who's thinking of doing this kind of test, do take your gloves off first. You know how gentlemen wear aftershave? Do you wear aftershave?
Yes, you can smell what I've already got some.
Oh, it's really nice. That's very nice. Who buys it?
Normally the wife.
Can I smell you, sir, or are you not wearing any?
Not wearing any at the moment, no.
So that's just you. It's also quite nice, actually.
He takes mine, actually, most of the time.
Well, I'd better try it on you, then, because what there is... Let me just try it. Oh! Ah! Oh! Oh, can you pull me glove off? This is a catastrophe, a technical cop-out. I think I got it. Wait a minute. I've damaged the goods. Would you like to start quite... Oh, God. Right. Now, first of all, I'm going to spray that. This, there. Now, one of those is an expensive man's aftershave, and the other one is a lady's perfume. Would you like your father to have a smell?
I would say this was the man's. This particular one here.
And the other one, one's the lady's.
Well, there's not much difference actually.
Yeah.
But I would say this one was definitely the man's, that one.
Well, so you are absolutely wrong. Not only that, but that one only costs £4.50.
Is that right?
And the man's one costs about 12 quid. So your wife could save quite a lot of money by putting women's perfume on you. Why don't you like the idea of going around in ladies' perfume?
He asked my next door neighbour that. We discuss it quite often.
To be honest with you, I can't tell the difference. That is... Well, I'd say that was women's perfume there.
Nice, isn't it?
It's a bit stronger than that.
Which do you like?
Well, I like that. Yeah, it's the same, is it?
That is women's perfume you're wearing now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it both the same?
No, that one's £8 cheaper than the other one.
And that one's stronger smelling?
Yeah.
Ah.
Perhaps you ought to take it out.
Yeah.
Oh, hee-ha-ha, you are French, I can
No.
Oh, you are
I've just got a bald head, I put a berry on, that's all.
much the same. Now, look here. Do you wear a lot of aftershave?
Oh, yeah.
Can I...
Aramis.
Ooh!
Nice, isn't it?
That's powerful
Yeah.
stuff, isn't it? You're covered with it.
No, I've just been trying it out in the stores, actually.
Yeah. Do you mind keeping going with a bit of this?
Well, what's it like?
Try it. Is that a...
No, I better give you the other hand.
Right.
Well, I'm supposed to smell it, am I?
You are supposed to smell it.
Oh, nice.
You like it. Now, I have one more to try. Could I try it on your knee?
My leg?
Well, we've run out of places, really.
There we are.
Right.
How can I smell it down? I say.
Does it lift?
Knee comes up, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know, it's a bit sweety, a bit cheapy, I think, I don't know. I had a shower this morning.
Which one do you prefer?
Aramis. No, it's a bit sickly, though. It's cheap stuff, isn't it?
You don't like that?
No.
That cheap stuff? £12.50 a bottle.
Is it?
Yes.
Good Lord.
Now, what about the stuff on your knee?
That's as bad. You know, Aramis is better, doesn't it? Smell Aramis. Nice, isn't it?
Right. Oh, it really is. nice.
Yes. Oh, this is nice. You can drink it too.
What does it do?
I don't know, it just makes you sick, but it's very nice.
Do you wear much aftershave, sir?
We're a bit busy, lad. We've got to keep our eyes open, because we're working out the suitcases, lad. We're what you do, Nick, for, wasn't it? Obstruction. She's up in court next week.
What you got in there? Anything nice?
Oh, a few socks and a bit of aftershave, and Esther Lauder and Charlie and Chanel.
All right.
Look at her.
Stick around now. Right.
Brute 002274. I've had it before.
Right, and this, on the other hand?
Oh, what's this one? It's the same as what we were selling, isn't it? Yes, very nice.
So you wouldn't mind wearing women's perfume?
No, don't worry me. I'll wear ladies' knickers.
Results of our survey, Michael.
Oh, 4 out of 5 men we met in Bristol actually preferred the women's perfume, which is much cheaper. So that either proves that we could all save a lot of money by wearing women's perfume, or there's something very funny about the men in Bristol.
What do you wear, Joanna?
Well, actually, I am very fond of my own scent. If Doc thinks he's going to swap it for his Oda Doberman Pinscher, he's got another thing coming. No, he smells divine, really. Now, there are some delicious new recipes around at the moment, and Kate Brodie saw in her local Farnham paper that a new Indian restaurant is serving curry, which is succulently flavoured with mice meat.
And Judy Gordon went to a very smart restaurant in Madeira, serving omelette with persil.
And Mrs. Jewell from Southampton was rather nervous to read the Marks and Spencer Slimming Book recipe, the lemon and tarragon veal. Cover the cook in a preheated oven.
But the staff of the National Westminster Bank in Pickering specially recommend the last course in the Forest and Vale Hotel, coffee and randy snaps.
Well now, this week we have another winner for this Jobsworth Award. You'll remember we give this out for the daftest rule and the official who's most determined to uphold it. Actually, the rule in this case isn't really all that daft, it's just it's being applied so unfairly. We heard about it from Keith Taylor, who lives near Huntingdon. He wrote to us and said,
My wife keeps bees, and we sell a little honey on our farm in the summertime, and we found that people are very interested in bees, so they like to come and visit us. We set up an exhibition with a demonstration hive and a queen laying eggs. We let visitors in free. We're in the Cambridgeshire list of tourist attractions. Actually, we're the only free place listed in the animals section.
Well, this is the list of places to visit, and there they are, under animals, Gray's Honey Farm, as you see, top of the list. Mr. Taylor said...
That list was for last summer. We won't be opening next summer.
We said, why not?
Nobody will be able to find us. Our road hasn't got a name.
Well, can't you put up a sign?
We did that last April, but Huntingdon District Council wrote to us at once, saying it was illegal. We'd have to take it down.
In fact, the letter says the council will take it down themselves.
In accordance with Section 109A of the Town and Country Planning Act 1971, notice is hereby given that the council will remove the placards within a period being not less than 2 days from the date of service of this notice on you.
Signed by the Director of Planning,
A.S. Campbell.
Which does seem a bit brutal. So we asked Mr. Taylor to tell us about the Town and Country Planning Act. He said,
well, basically the law says you need planning permission if you want to put a sign up on someone else's land. And because our honey farm is up this nameless road, we had to put the sign up on the main road, on Farmer Rowe's land.
Did he mind?
Not at all. He loves honey.
Well, who did mind then?
The council. They said it was commercial and ugly and dangerous. I offered to change it, make it a different size or shape or colour. But it was no good. When I applied for planning permission, they turned me down flat.
Well, these are the council's list of reasons. Firstly, they say the sign looks too commercial because it's in a flat fenland area with very few trees and hedges.
Which makes the sign particularly prominent.
In other words, it's too big. Well, could he perhaps make it smaller then? No.
It is considered that the size of the sign and the information displayed is too small to enable passing motorists to absorb the information, slow down gradually, and make the necessary right-angled turn in safety. In this respect, it is considered that the sign constitutes a potentially dangerous distraction to drivers.
In other words, you can't have it because it's too big and too small. We said it must be an awfully ugly sign to be prominent and commercial and a dangerous distraction to drivers. He said,
come and see for yourself.
So we did. Now, there in the distance, that little yellow spot there is Mr. Taylor's yellow sign. That's when it's in position. But if, in fact, you'd like a closer look at his sign, here it is. Rather sweet, isn't it? I mean, I suppose you could call it prominent if you lay down next to it. But is it really commercial and dangerous? We looked around and we saw that there are, in any case, one or two other signs in the same road as Mr. Taylor's. In fact, Bill and Michael have composed the ballad of all the signs round Honey Farm.
Oh, these are the signs you will see there. A boat high sign and the free-range eggs, a telephone sign and the lay-by closed, access to D&H offices only. A strawberry sign, council road work sign, barley mow, kennels too, and thank you. Antiques and more antiques, and more antiques, and more antiques. Goat's milk and more goat's milk, and heavy plant crossing for half a mile. Tomatoes, flowers, and plants and plums, the Grove Cafe and the Petrol. The 4-star petrol at 179 and the diesel at 166. This way to the caravan site, the farm shop and the cattery. But of all the signs, the nastiest sight says support your council lottery and help improve these areas.
You can see the place is positively bristling with signs, and some of them are pretty nasty ones. So why are they all allowed? Well, it seems that in some circumstances you don't need planning permission. In fact, the council can't stop you. In other circumstances, you can get permission quite easily. For example,
if Mr. Taylor stood next to the sign actually selling honey on the spot, that's sale of produce. Then his sign would be allowed.
If he was milking a cow next to the sign, that's an agricultural demonstration, and then his sign would be allowed.
If you let the bees out and then put a sign saying warning bees, for safer ones go to the honey farm, a warning sign would be allowed.
If he stood for Parliament and wrote on his sign, vote for me at Honey Farm just up the road on the right, an election sign would be allowed.
If he turned himself into a circus, circus is regarded as a special case, and a circus sign would be allowed.
In fact, the council could just decide that Honey Farm's such a nice place and it's such a pretty little sign that Mr. Taylor can be a special exception. Because anyone can be a special exception under the Town and Country Planning Act. It all depends on Mr. Campbell, the Director of Planning. So we rang him up. We said, Mr. Campbell, can't he be a special exception? Mr. Campbell said,
we will not entertain any individual sign advertising individual premises. If we allowed this, it would be a precedent.
We said, well, what about all the signs you can't stop because they're allowed anyway, like signs for the barley mow and kennels and goat's milk and tomatoes, flowers and plums. And I do believe there's one for honey beeswax polish. Well, they're all advertisements, and there are plenty of precedents for advertisements without him. Anyway, if he was a special exception, he wouldn't be a president. You could say he was a special exception.
We cannot allow exceptions.
You'll put him out of business.
Well, that's not the business of the Planning Committee.
The Planning Committee? Now, there are 19 people on that Planning Committee. If Mr. Campbell can't make exceptions, perhaps they can. Perhaps they could discuss it at one of their meetings and find a way to keep Honey Farm in business. The only other way would be for Mr. Taylor to stand like a human signpost all summer long. You don't need planning permission for that, as he told us.
All I want is my own bee farm. The council think I'm a bee nuisance.
And we think that Mr. Campbell, Council Planning Director, has won himself this week's Golden Jobsworth Award.
Unless, of course, you know a different bee.
Joe.
People think it's an easy life in television, you know. Little do they know how much we all put into our work. Mr. Baker from Birmingham was deeply impressed to get a handout from Central Television about one of their plays where the actors spent weeks living in a log cabin in Wolverhampton to get a feel of their parts.
And it's nice to know that local councillors take their job so seriously. Joyce Rose from Cricklade saw in her local paper that at a recent meeting, one of the councillors was critical of the amount of dog mess in the streets. Town crier Les Cox said he had performed on 26 official occasions.
Speaking of dogs, you will have noticed over the years that we've shown you a great many talented dogs, but not all that many talented cats, because cats are pretty difficult to persuade to do their stuff just when you want them to. Unlike that town crier. So we were very interested when we had a letter from Paula Lake, who lives in Forest Gate in East London. She said,
Forget all your singing dogs that say sausages. Come and see our Fido. He jumps through hoops.
We said, so what? Lots of dogs do that. She said,
Fido's our cat, and the hoops are all over our sitting room.
So Michael went down to see. And when he got there, he found Fido in the middle of a training session with Paula. She's been doing this for 6 months, and her sitting room is crammed with 2-foot-high jumps, which are just like the Horse of the Year show, and they've got hurdles and fences and a catwalk. In fact, it was quite difficult for Michael to find anywhere to sit down with Paula and her husband Guy, and asked her why she'd turn her home into a Cat of the Year show with Fido.
So here we are, sitting in your living room, surrounded by these miniature show jumping fences. Now, this isn't exactly normal, is it?
Well, it's normal to us because we've been training him for so long since he was 6 months old that this has just got to be how we live now.
Where'd you put all your furniture?
Well, it's moved from one room to another. We try to vary it, put the course in different rooms, and just move it around. Yes, we just move it around to suit Fido.
All right, now, what do your friends think of this when they come around visiting you?
Well, I suppose they think we're a bit crazy. They've got very used to it now.
Now, Paula, you got in touch with us and said, enough of dogs, give cats a chance. Now, why?
We were looking at the animals on That's Life and all the dogs, and we thought that it was about time cats had a chance to show what they could do as well. Because we think that cats are probably more intelligent than dogs, or just as intelligent anyway. They don't get enough television time.
Cats are normally very independent.
Well, they are independent. I mean, certainly, if Fido decides he doesn't want to do something in a particular day, there's nothing will induce him, nothing.
Fido does seem a very strange name for a cat. You're not a frustrated dog owner then?
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
Well, let's see what you can do.
Good boy, come on.
Good boy. Come on.